is an assignment for sociology class Introductory Sociology at San Diego State University. The purpose of the assignment is to help inform us on key issues related to sociology of the body. The positions being advocated may not necessarily reflect the opinions of the students developing this video. Social media and gender roles. Today we are looking at the way social media and gender media has affected various gender roles in society. My name is Harper Magnuson, and I will be talking about modern romantic relationships. Social media and the media at large affects the way individuals view relationships as well as act within relationships, especially romantic ones. To start with the broader picture, social structure and norms are affected by the media daily, begging the question, does what we expect out of friends and the way we interact with them change depending on whether that relationship is primarily face-to-face, via social media, or direct messaging? Conley states in our textbook. That same question can be asked of relationships as well. Not only is social media rewriting social structures because of trends and judgments, but it is also stripping relationships of romance because of the lack of human interaction and contact. The outburst of technology in the last decennial is a leading factor in this drift. As Wygant states, social media is what I call a romance contraceptive. It prevents romance from happening every single day. Although it may seem like a simple concept, however, being on your phone instead of having small talk or even flirting with those around you is step one in the way media and technology has affected romantic relationships. The rarity of finding a partner organically rather than through dating apps has gotten greater and greater. Statistics show that 1/3 of all romantic relationships in the United States begin online, according to Cacioppo and others. Look into a more detailed aspect of this phenomenon. The way in which people are expected to act within a relationship, especially according to gender, is highly controlled by social media as well, even stripping individuality in some cases. Having access to resources such as dating apps can make people feel as though they have endless options when it comes to alternative partners, so they, in turn, feel less connected. Another thing to consider when it comes to romantic relationships and media is that, according to Jakob and others, it is likely for a person in a committed relationship to continue to use social media and dating apps, causing difficulties in relationships, including infidelity, distrust, jealousy, and resentment. Additionally, to look even deeper, gender roles while in a romantic relationships have changed due to the effects that social media trends have on the way people act. For example, there is a popular social media couple, Nara Smith and Lucky Blue, as in this video, that are often described online as the perfect couple. However, Nara Smith is considered a trad wife and does all her cooking by scratch, making content considered aesthetic homemaking content with chic stay-at-home girlfriends. #SAHD Young Trad Wives, states Blackett in a New York Times article. With Nara Smith gaining popularity, more and more women are starting to create such content to the point where there is even a trad wife movement that has started from Smith's content. It is easy to fall down a black hole of anti-feminist rhetoric and fundamentalist Christian values. American society has moved far from homemakers being the expectation or the norm, but one TikTok creator could change that all, including the role gender plays in a relationship. Social media and technology not only causes human connection to suffer, it also changes the dynamics of romantic relationships from dating apps to gender role influences, in turn changing societal norms and structures.
Hi, my name is Alexis Miller, and I'm covering how men and women perceive each other. Generally speaking, media can affect humans in all kinds of ways. However, we all collectively notice that different forms of media have led to adverse effects, such as negative perceptions of the opposite sex. This is typically what we call the sexism in media. This typically presents what is known as the male gaze. This was created by Laura Mulvey, a film theorist who noticed that most directors in Hollywood were men and therefore tended to depict women in a more sexual manner. As we can see in the image, the idea of the male gaze is basically just taking what the male director visualizes and capturing it on camera. According to Lauren Michelle Jackson, who provides startling insight into how the media can contribute to this idea of the male gaze, she argues that the way bodies are framed and the way the camera moves teaches us to look at women the way the patriarchy does. To simplify this, directors, often men, use the camera to film women in a way that focuses solely on their physical aspects. They use the camera to create these sexual and highly skewed perceptions of women in the media. This means that as a society, we have been indoctrinated through various forms of media, which include but are not limited to films, television shows, pornography, music videos, etc. As we tend to rely on these forms of media for entertainment and pleasure, we adopt these perceptions that are hidden in the way it is filmed. As I said earlier, television shows and movies are not the only forms of media pushing these negative perceptions. The adult film industry, otherwise known largely as pornography, is one of the largest aggressors in pushing these negative perceptions of men and women, particularly women. According to the article, How Porn Hurts Men and Women, pornography can have extremely harsh effects on how men and women view each other. More specifically, men develop a distorted view of sexuality and relationships. Men become callous towards women. Some men are so conditioned to be aroused by porn that they can no longer perform sexually with real women. As we can see in the image, 1 in 6 young men every day watch porn. Compared to the 16% of women, 56% of young men watch porn every week. This means that men are consuming porn at a much higher rate and therefore likely consuming the negative and sexual stereotypes of women at a much higher rate. Based on this level of consumption, it is safe to infer that the effects of porn, as outlined in the article, How Porn Hurts Men and Women, that I referenced earlier, are more likely to develop at a much faster rate in men. Ultimately, pornography can lead to men viewing women in an extremely sexual manner, which can impact sex and relationships because these perceptions get in the way and limit the attraction people can feel towards each other. However, just because a lot of media tends to skew the perceptions of women does not mean that media does not affect the perception of men as well. According to the topic guide about gender, in the gender and media section, they, men, are typically characterized as powerful and dominant. The media tends to demean men in a caring or domestic roles or those who oppose violence. Looking at it from the perspective of women, with this stereotyping of men, women may begin to perceive men as violent or non-caring or undomestic. Due to the sexism that is in the media, women see men the way the media wants them to see men. It is extremely hard to break these perceptions when it is constantly shoved in everyone's faces due to the constant consuming of various forms of media. Ultimately, as citizens, it would be devastatingly hard to change these perceptions without getting filmmakers or creators of other forms of media to change these perceptions when creating media.
Hi, my name is Grace Brown. I will be going over body image. In reference to media and gender roles, the effect of body image in women is profound. This image shown is an accurate representation of how most women feel social media portrays their bodies. As shown, the woman is posed in a way that shows off her body. She is lean and has features that are deemed to be beautiful by our societal standards. Yet, if you don't fit into this typecasted role of this perfect look, you might feel overwhelmed by the repetitive bombardment of images of idealized body types as stated in our textbook. This may make you feel left out of the social media world, which leads to poor body and self-image. An article published by New York Times dives into this idea by providing insight from real-life experiences with students. Sarah Wheaton, a student, in response to this conversation, says that she has struggled with body confidence and wishes she looked like the other girls on her feed. From this, we can uncover just how easy self-comparison is with the use of media in relation to body image. Sarah Wheaton also mentions the unrealistic expectations of female bodies, which exemplifies with the use of editing. How do we know what is real and what is fake? These perfect bodies are placed onto our social media feeds, but acknowledging whether they're real or not and how they may appear thinner or cover up imperfections is up for debate. Since editing of any image is not specified in media, viewers can often fall down a rabbit hole of trying to look like this perfect body type. This comparison to edited body types can lead to unhealthy habits such as eating disorders. The National Library of Medicine published an article furthering a study that understands the effect of media on body image. This study concluded that the widespread use of social media in teenagers and young adults could increase in body dissatisfaction as well as their drive for thinness, therefore rendering them more vulnerable to eating disorders. To add on, the following image is an example of a woman that is actively comparing herself to another woman seen on her social media feed. Not only is this comparison unhealthy, but it's clearly causing this woman a great deal of pain, which provides her with negative body image, which is a form of body dissatisfaction. In saying, "I wish I was her," she is instilling that her body, the way it is not good enough, which is not true. Because of this negative body image view, thoughts of oneself can be questioned, which is heartbreaking. It has been reported that this body dissatisfaction is quite common, and sadly 45% of young people have reported that they're unhappy in their bodies. The image and how we perceive our bodies is commonly criticized by ourselves and sometimes each other because of this unrealistic standards portrayed in media. Because of this, it's made clear that media has a widespread effect of our society's body image, causing us to be more vulnerable to unrealistic body image, self-comparison, and eating disorders.
My name is Jila, Pakroo, and I'm presenting on women's mental health. The rise of social media in the last century has directly impacted specifically women and their mental health. Social media has only perpetuated the westernized vision of beauty for women. The picture shows the drastic statistics around women's mental health. With women already at a higher risk for mental health, the effects of social media can be detrimental. Not only is this concerning for women in general, but the fact that young girls have access to social media at ages as low as 7 or 8 severely increases their chance for body image issues growing up and persisting into adulthood. It is shown that most women are using social media on a daily basis to ease anxiety. This is deeply concerning as social media has been seen to raise anxiety and depression levels after a few uses. Over 40% of users have reported feeling some instances of cyberbullying while using social media. A normalization of bullying/comparing one's looks to others is a recipe for disaster, especially for young women. The body and beauty standards that social media portrays are wholly unrealistic and unachievable for most. Unfortunately, this is not obvious for young girls using apps like TikTok or Instagram, which leads to detrimental effects such as bulimia and anorexia. This image shows the sheer amount of body hatred people have in the United States. A whopping 50% of women use unhealthy behaviors to shape their bodies, and 70% of people 18 to 30 years old dislike their bodies. Unfortunately, this data shows that social media, especially during COVID-19 when everybody was on their phones, has directly impacted young women in America. Eating disorders can sometimes lead to malnutrition and even death. Through these examples, it is clear that the way social media influences young girls and women in our society is negative, causing body image issues, insecurities, and eating disorders. These statistics relate almost directly to the rise of social media. In our textbook, Conley states that some argue that the repetitive bombardment of images of idealized bodies, as well as those posted on social media by women who have internalized this idea, decreases girls' self-esteem and may contribute to eating disorders. According to the Association of State and Territorial Health Officials, social media usage can negatively influence body image and lead to body comparison, body dissatisfaction, and disordered eating, all contributors to eating disorder development. Reports indicate that adolescent girls using social media more than adolescent boys are disproportionately affected by eating disorders, having a high prevalence of eating disorders with increased incidence compared to those general adolescent population. Further, according to a recent CDC study, pediatric emergency department visits among adolescent girls with eating disorders doubled during COVID-19.
Alexis Lopez, and I'll be talking about men's mental health and how social media has brought relevance. Men's mental health has historically been a stigmatized topic and often overseen by societal expectations of masculinity and resilience. Culture norms dictated that men should puff it out and avoid discussing their emotions openly. These stereotypes often lead to men holding back their emotions, which is not healthy, and has led to higher rates of suicide, substance abuse, among other mental health issues. However, in the past year, social media has played a very important part in destigmatizing men's mental health. Social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter have given men a place to express their individual difficulties, stories, and experiences, fostering a sense of community. The greater visibility has lessened men's senses of loneliness by letting them know they're not alone in their challenges. For example, hashtags like it's okay not to be okay and men's mental health have gained popularity in encouraging guys to express their emotions and speak up without worrying about being judged. Men can now connect with others going through similar struggles thanks to the emergence of online networks and support groups. Social media's normalization of conversations about mental health has aided to the destruction of damaging stereotypes, inspiring men to get treatment, and increased awareness of the significance of mental health care for all. In order to solve the men's mental health problem and change Societal norms surrounding masculinity and men's mental health visibly and support are essential. Be mindful, and these are our sources.